All right, so I was doing research leading up to this. We've been planning this interview for over a month now, so
Yeah.
I've been, when I can, trying to find, time to do a little bit of digging around on the internet. And what I found is the Catholic Church used to be uh, especially fixated on the occult and demonic forces, and scared of it, and preaching against it and warning the dangers of it. Not that Protestantism doesn't do it also, but some quotes that I found interesting. A priest said, well, basically, Ouija boards and the like, and tarot cards, they're not necessarily dangerous. You probably won't get into trouble by playing around with them. He said that basically 50 people could play with them and nothing would happen. But that 51st person, that would be when a demon finds his way in and really wrecks a life. Also, another priest said in the Sunday Independent, he said, using a Ouija board is like going to Africa and pretending you're immune to Ebola. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would concur with both of those statements.
Well, what do you think he means by that? It's like going to Africa and pretending you're immune to Ebola.
I think that what he would mean by that would be saying that you could play with this thing that is, first of all, doing something that the Bible prohibits. I mean, just comes right out and says, don't do
multiple
this.
times.
Yeah. And you think that you can do it and get away with it. Yeah, it's
Yep.
Who are you to think that? And I think that he's right. I think that it's something that, in fact, even if you go on YouTube and you just search Ouija board, or I use the Ouija board or something like that, and like every video, and nobody's over there going, this has been the greatest thing in my life. I've won the lottery 6 times, and it tells me all these wonderful things. It's all these people telling me these horror stories that they've had with the Ouija board.
Wow. Yeah. True. I guess he's a friend of yours, Matt Slick. He's with the that's Creation. No, Christian Apologetics Research Ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Matt Slick, who probably a lot of you have seen his debates and whatnot on the internet, but he said that he was once. He implied that he was fairly heavily into the occult, and it was God that saved him and pulled him out. That he felt like the occult and Ouija boards and whatnot, when you get into it, it's easy to get sucked in.
Yeah.
And encompass your life.
Yeah. I got the opportunity to meet Matt a while back when he debated David Smalley at Sherlock's.
Yeah, that was here in North Texas,
yeah.
in Arlington.
So, yeah, that's the thing with what we see with demonic forces, familiar spirits, is that it has a way of encapsulating a person. Even like, and I know Matt doesn't go into a lot of great detail. I've heard him talk on it a couple different times, and he never really goes into, or at least in what I've seen, goes into great detail. But what I have seen is people talk about how, as long as they were doing the things that the Spirit was leading them to do or wanting them to do, it was fine. But the minute that they start having any kind of empathy or compassion towards another individual, then it seeks to destroy them. It's almost like what we've seen in the eyewitness testimony is that as long as you're willing to kind of do what they want you to do, and they're having fun playing with you, or you're fulfilling what they want you to fulfill, it's fine. But the minute that they're tired of you or step out of line, it's all about the destruction of the individual, which I think is ultimately Satan's goal in all of our lives, is that whether it's the unbeliever, he wants to keep them an unbeliever, or a believer, he wants to make us as least effective as possible.
Mm-hmm. 2 tangents. What was the first one? What did Matt Slick and David Smalley debate on? Do you remember what that topic was? I forget. I didn't get a chance to go to that one.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I think it was morality.
I think
one
of those.
The issue
Yeah.
of morality.
Ooh, boy. Yeah.
It was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be worth watching.
Matt Slick is he's a black belt debater. I mean, it's hard to. I would be highly intimidated going up against him. I mean, David Smalley's a smart cookie, but wow.
Yeah, he was tough. In fact, I talked with David Smalley afterwards. In fact, he was really nice and did a short little video with me afterwards. And,
really cool.
Yeah, and I said, boy, that was like drinking from a fire hydrant, wasn't it? He goes, boy, it was something else. He goes, it's a long 2 hours talking with Matt on this subject. But,
I think how who was it? Zachary Moore fell here recently against, who was he? What was this most recent Bible and Beer Consortium debate? I forget.
I can see his face and his name.
I forget.
Just
Anyway,
rolls right off my.
You know it's bad when you admit defeat, because you never do that. But after the debate, when you admit, okay, yeah, I got hammered. But yeah. Anyway, second tangent. Oh yeah, okay. So when I was a teenager, I never really got into the occult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I owned a Ouija board. I always, of course, I've been an atheist literally since 15, and a questioning skeptic agnostic since age 8. Mm-hmm. So I really haven't swallowed the God virus or the occult virus, or I've always been highly skeptical of anything that I couldn't empirically evidence for. But I had a friend who had really Christian parents, and we loved heavy metal back then. Ozzy Osbourne, it was the hairband days, right?
Yeah.
So we had all the vinyl, and his parents found out that we were playing Dungeons and Dragons over at my house, and found out we were listening to Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath music. And so they found all his albums and his Dungeons and Dragons dice and the game stuff, and made him go out in the backyard and burn it in a pit fire.
Yeah.
It's can it be taken to extremes, or what advice would you give parents if their kids are playing with a Ouija board?
In fact, our last profile that we did, we do a profile 6 times a year. It's a 4-page document that covers all the FAQs that you need to know to have an intelligible conversation about a given subject. And then at the very end, it always has a Christian or biblical response, because, we're a Christian ministry, and so we're going to... But we don't write, the vast majority of it, and it's written at a scholarly level. And the whole point of it is we want to represent whatever the belief is fairly. For example, I'm updating the Wiccan profile, and we're going to, practicing Wiccans to be able to get we're having them read over it and give us their opinion, because we want to represent whatever group we're talking about fairly. And then we spend and we don't tell people how to believe. We just put it out there, and this is what it is. Yeah, here's the facts, and here's what the Bible says about the subject. And we did one on the fantasy role play games like Dungeons and Dragons and all that. And that is...
What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's...
Is it a gateway?
I think it's very much a gateway. It can be. It's a lot like the Ouija board.
Yeah.
And that's why you asked the question, what would I advise parents? I would advise parents to not allow their children to play it.
It's so fun.
There
are demons in it.
Yeah, it's a rolling of the dice of what's going to happen to you or not. Now, as a Christian, the Bible teaches that as a Christ follower, I can't be possessed by a demon, but I can certainly be oppressed. And then
wait. As a Christian, you don't think that demonic possession is possible?
A demon could not possess me, because I have the Holy Spirit living inside me.
Okay.
But it could oppress me. It could make.
I could be possessed.
I think a person who doesn't have the Holy Spirit residing in them is open to possession and oppression. I think that they could screw with you the same way they could screw with me, if you will. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
So you've got armor that you can't penetrate. Basically.
As far as
demonic possession is possible. Yeah. It's just that once you got the armor on.
Yeah, once you've accepted the Holy Spirit, you're good.
Okay.
But still, you have the oppression factor. The demonic or familiar spirit could oppress you and make your life
influence
miserable.
You that way.
Yeah, influence
maybe
you.
Maybe not working from within.
Yeah, not working from within, but working from without. And my goodness, how many people have been really coming to a bad place because of influences from the outside? I'm not necessarily talking demonic at this point. I'm talking about, how many people have...
Well, yeah, if you're talking about earthly influences, I would agree with you. Yeah. There's lots. Peer pressure is a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, who's it, Mark Twain? Someone said, you want to know the character of a man, just find out who he's hanging around.
Yeah.
The kind of people he hangs around. Because your friends, everyone influences you. Yeah. It's just, what I wanted to say is, when you were talking is, you try to represent the other side as clearly, and that's what I kind of like. That's what I especially like about y'all's organization, you and James Walker.
Yeah.
Is whenever I've heard him in a video, we've called each other some things we're great friends. You and I are great friends. Uh-huh. But he's he's called me to my face misguided, lost.
Mm-hmm.
I've called him to his face delusional, and we understand where we're going with it. But when he said the same thing to his congregation about atheists, and I take no offense by the way. But what I like, it's like I don't know if you've ever heard the term steel manning. It's the opposite of straw manning.
Yeah.
And you guys are good at steel manning. It's very rare when you have theists describe what an atheist is accurately, and you all do it every time every video I watch, every time I see you all live. When you're describing what an atheist is, you get it right on the money.
Well, I appreciate it. And we do go to great lengths to make sure that, and not just atheists, but I mean Mormons, Muslims, Jehovah's Witness, whoever it may be, because it's just so weak to set up a straw. I mean, to me, it's just, I mean, it's no respect. I mean, you need to be fair and accurate. In fact, that's one of the things as to where I was talking to a fellow the other day about Seventh-day Adventist, and he used to be one, and he goes, I don't agree with everything in your profile. I said, please mark it up and tell me where we were wrong, because if we misrepresented something, I'm the profile editor. So if trust me, if something's misrepresented in there, I want to fix it, and I mean I have the power and the ability to update it.
But if it's just him or his little church, you have to go with the preponderance of, what is the mission statement of the larger Seventh-day Adventist?
Yeah.
Because if his doesn't jive with that, you got to go with the.
Well, that's where we focus so much on being as scholarly as we can. The people that we get to write for us, we're looking for the best in the field, whether it be. Like we recently updated our Scientology profile. We got the #1 Christian apologist in on Scientology in the country to write on. I mean, this guy's the best. And
I don't think they're around anymore though. So. Hurricane Irma just hit Clearwater Beach, and I wasn't hoping for any casualties. But when it said the eye wall was going over Clearwater, I was like, okay, I hope the buildings are empty, but that would be really cool if the Scientology headquarters were.
Jim, would you accept that as evidence for the proof of God?
No.
Okay,
Did you see all those Christians on the beach that, with their cell phones up in the air? Did you see them all gathering on the beach as Irma's coming at them?
Are you serious?
They're on one of the keys or somewhere. There's a hotel behind them, but they're all chanting and trying to pray the hurricane away from hitting. Yeah. It was pretty funny. I might try to throw a snippet of that video in right there. Speaking of throwing in a snippet, now what are we about to look at?
Okay, what we got here? Well, first, let's just talk about mediums or psychics for a moment, and just kind of set the stage. Now, James Van Prague, he says a medium is a psychic who has fine-tuned his or her extrasensory perception and can interface with the spirits in other dimensions. So he would say... James Van Prague.
He's one of those TV mediums, okay.
A little bit older name. His heyday was really in the late 80s and in the 90s. In fact, he just popped up. He was on an episode of one of the Real Housewives or whatever. I think it was...
John Edward guy, and who's that? Gloria, the one that just died. What's her name? They were just insufferable.
Well, I mean, you had Madame Blavatsky, you have Arthur Ford, Gene Dixon, Uri Geller would be another one, and then, of course, maybe more getting it more into. And
the more they get debunked, they come back even stronger somehow. These people want to believe so much, even when the evidence right there. Like, I hate to say it, Peter. I don't know if you believe in faith healing. Not to get on another tangent, but like Peter Popoff, who they proved that he was a charlatan. Yes. They had the microphone, and they had the earplug, and he's now back bigger than ever. Yeah. It's like his followers want to believe so bad. It's just same with the mediums. They just have to believe it.
Yeah, and
if there is a hell, Brady, then I think there's a special place for these mediums.
You would have to think that
they're con men.
I mean, because what they do is detestable. In fact, that's one of the things that I mean, like our ministry for years was a subscriber to Skeptic magazine. And we hold a great deal of agreement on this issue that the vast majority of them out there, I don't think are really contacting even a demonic spirit. I think that they're just really good charlatans that can deceive people. And I think what they're doing is really hurtful. I think it's just, it's
false sense of hope.
It's mean-spirited. I mean,
but that false sense of hope, isn't that?
Well, and that's the reason why people listen to them. That's the reason why they buy their books. That's the reason why they watch their TV shows. That's the reason why they do all those things. It's because they have that desire to to be able to make that. Remember, it's all about hidden knowledge. They just want one more. I mean, just imagine right now, Jim. Think about one loved one that you've lost, and boy, what would you give to be able to just hear one word from them?
To know it for real.
Yeah.
No offense. I'm not busting your balls here, but that same reason is where we're going after the Christians too. The false sense of hope. That now way less people in leadership roles in the Christian church are charlatans, but they do exist.
Oh yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say every medium's a con man, but maybe a percentage of the Christian, and those are just as bad as the mediums. If you truly, like you and James, you truly believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can't knock you for that.
Yeah.
But the guys that are out there doing it and they know it, like, I'm sorry, the prosperity gospel guys, Joel Osteen, he's in it for some fat dollar bills. He's not for any other reason.
And I don't, I don't want to pretend like I know anybody in particular what motivates them.
Right.
But it's almost in the sense of like the medium who's maybe really making contact with the spirit world. I probably would have less angst with them than I would the person who knows that they're doing it. And to your respect, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think the difference maybe between Christianity and these mediums who maybe are legitimately making contact with familiar spirits is that I believe, and I know this might be a topic for another show, that there's overwhelming evidence to show that Christianity is true. And I think that's where my line would draw.
That's another 13 shows, 13-part series.
Yeah, and however many parts within those 13, who knows? But anyway, so you have these folks. You have people like John Edward. Most recent, probably maybe the biggest name right now is Teresa Caputo, a.k.a. the Long Island Medium.
She's not related to Neil Caputo.
I don't think so.
Wouldn't that be weird?
I had looked it up a few years ago. I wrote a profile on her. In fact, I believe that profile is available at our website, which is watchman.org.
That'll be down below too.
And you could do /profiles, or you see profiles there on the left-hand side. And we have a large sampling of the collection. In fact, now we have over our complete collection is compiled in a notebook that is over 500 pages. We've been doing this for.
Some of that's available free of charge on your site.
A great deal of it.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of resources that are a lot of research went into it, and there's a nominal fee for some of these. And, and they're part of your like 5-week series that you go to churches with. And
yeah. We offer free profile subscriptions, and it's like for real free. It's not like we're going to sneak in there and secretly charge you in some way. And you can get these mailed to your house, and it's and we cover everything from acupuncture to Zoroastrianism. We cover false religions.
Acupuncture.
We're
totally in agreement on that one too.
I believe we would be.
What about meditation? Because I'm actually becoming I used to be just, I used to think of it in the same method as chiropractic medicine or acupuncture. But now the more I'm learning about it, meditation, there might be something to it.
It depends. How do you define meditation?
A method of relaxation and focusing your mind and mindfulness of, where you can, well, let me look at the claimed benefits are focus, relaxing, ridding yourself of motivation, ridding yourself of bad thoughts, and increasing your motivational level. Yeah, but if we start going into chakras and yoga, that stuff, no.
Yeah, the interesting thing with that, because this is something that comes up a lot within Christianity, is the idea that there being Christian yoga, and
yoga's Hindu.
Exactly.
Yoga is an actual part of the religion. Just that getting yourself in those positions, that's the first step to a whole facet of their religion.
And I try to explain to Christians, because I get pushback from this from time to time. In fact,
it's okay to do yoga.
I had some of our students at our college, some of our athletes said, "No, man, we started doing this, and it's helped us get stronger." And they're talking about the physical benefits of it, and I'm thinking, hold on, you don't even know what you're doing. And of course, then we got off on a little sidetrack for a class period or two, because when you're doing those poses and you're doing that kind of stuff,
that in and of itself is not harmful.
Well,
and if the studio doesn't take it any farther, what if they're not even Hindu? They don't even know how to take it any farther. Would it be okay?
Well, I mean, okay or okay for who? Here's the deal. When you're doing those poses, those are, and this is the best way I can explain it, it's like acts of worship. Because that's what the purpose of those poses were. In fact, there was one yogi who came out and, I mean, just was really upset with the westernization of yoga. And just what you described, we're pulling all the Hindu beliefs out, and we just want to focus on stretching. And he spoke vehemently against it. Of course, he was speaking from a Christian yoga perspective, that he was like, no, you can't do this. It would be almost like having Christian atheism or something like that. That you can't have one without the other, or they can't coexist in one belief system. And so therefore, my word for Christians is you don't need to have any part of this, because this is, I mean, what would be difference between this and you going down to the mosque for prayer? What's the difference? It's you're worshiping.
That's a decent analogy. Maybe a better one would be like an atheist or someone who was a Christian, became a non-believer, still goes to church just as often as he or she did before, just for all the other tangential benefits. Just the feeling of community. And because they got programs and maybe there's some childcare there and all my friends are there. So you're still getting some of the benefits out of it, even though you don't have to go off into the religion.
This is a prime example. I was on a flight a couple months ago, and I was talking to a fellow sitting right across the aisle from me who was Mormon. And I said, so I started asking him some questions. And he goes, look, what you got to understand is I don't believe any of it. He goes, I don't believe it at all. I said, well, then why are you still part of it? He goes, I know it would really bother my wife's parents. And he goes, at the end of the day, he goes, I like the structure. He goes, it's a great structure. He goes, we don't do any of the family home nights. We don't do Bible. He goes, we don't do a Book of Mormon study on Monday nights. He said, but it's just a good pattern of life to be in. As a Christian, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, man, the Titanic was a great ship to be on right until the end. I mean, you're talking about something that's going to lead you to a place that is not true, and we're talking about eternity. And if eternity is real, I'm more concerned about, if eternity is real, I'm more concerned about eternity than I am about however 30, 40, 50 years I may have left on this earth, and so therefore it motivates me to look further and look a little deeper.
Not to pull it no true Scotsman on him though, but what I would have said to him, what I would have asked him first thing is, you call yourself a Mormon still. What is the minimum basic requirement to be a Mormon? And do you still fulfill those obligations?
And he did.
No, I think to be a Mormon, you would have to accept the Book of Mormon right off the bat, right?
He checked the boxes. So what I'm saying is,
I'm talking his belief system.
Oh, well, I mean, you're talking about intrinsically, for real, what's he doing then?
Yeah, for real. Are you a Mormon? To be a Mormon, you would have to accept that every supernatural phenomenon that happened to Joseph Smith or Brigham Young or anyone down the road or since then had to actually happen, had to be true.
One would certainly think that.
Or you can't be a Mormon. Or maybe I'm no true Scotsman and I don't know.
I don't know.
Like what's the minimum basic requirement? I asked a pastor this just the other day. What do you think, Brady, is the minimum basic requirement to be a Christian? Minimum, if you just wanted to get in the door.
I think that you would trust that Christ was who he said he was, and that you've placed your faith in him.
And anything else, or just that? Is that enough?
I mean, placing your trust in him and what he did for you on the cross, believing that he's God. I would say
and doing your best to follow his teachings.
Yeah.
Or is that even part of it?
Yeah, but see, that goes really into James chapter 2, and the whole issue of works and faith is that your faith is
funny
evidence.
You mentioned that.
I saw your post the other day.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you see the long? Yeah.
I didn't read it all. But
we had some good ones.
But it comes to an issue of this. If you are a Christ follower, then your life should bear the fruit of you being a Christ follower.
I would have loved you to chime in. Why didn't you chime in?
I don't get in on stuff
that. You were lurking around watching it, but...
Well, I got one of those, you get those little messages, and so...
Oh, man, someone like you that actually knows what he's talking about, you would get preferential. Well, did anything I say jump out at you? Like, no, he's way off.
Well, I started reading it, and I kind of picked up where you were going, which is a very common place to go, because we have to understand really the context of James chapter 2. He's talking to believers. He's talking to people who who
already had
faith.
the
Yes.
faith.
And he's saying, look, if you're a believer,
Yeah.
your life should look like a believer. Like, for example, I claim to be a Christ follower. If I am overtly living my life in a way that's completely contradicting the teachings of Christ, am I really a Christ follower? So therefore, the fruit of your behavior really shows the intent of your heart.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And now, I mean, that's not to say that, well, you have to be perfect, because, I mean, I still sin.
Intent.
I still
It's intent.
It's a lot of it. It's a one thing to, somebody cuts you off in the, on the highway or something, and, you say something that God would not want you to say. It's a big difference between that and, going out and saying, hey, my purpose tonight is to go out and cheat on my wife. I mean, there's a whole big difference to it, that your life should emulate at least the fact that you're trying to, and even the Apostle Paul said it, it's almost like this moment of frustration. Man, I do the things I don't want to do, and I don't do the things that I do want to do. And that's where the struggle is. And it's because we're still in this old sinful flesh with the old sinful mind that remembers the old way that we used to do things. And that's a big part of the Christian struggle.
I've got a secondary family member. I'm going to just leave it at that. But he and my secondary... Okay, so this young couple is about to get married. And they've been living together for months. And they've made it very clear that, they're sexually active and they haven't tied the knot. And they're very religious. Very religious. And I said to him once, I mean, how do you square that circle? I mean, you do, according to your, worldview, it's wrong premarital sex. You need to wait. Yes, it is. So you're going against what Jesus is what your Bible is teaching you. Yeah, we are. I mean, but that's not how Christianity works. You try to be the best person you can be, and you ask for forgiveness. You just do your best. I said, are you really doing your best? Are you trying to avoid it? Yeah. Or every night, you guys, every time are you trying to avoid having sex? No, I'm not even trying to avoid it. That's in that kind of, it's the intent. Yeah. You have to at least. Well,
understand that to a certain extent.
You can't go out, just real quick, you can't go out and go on a murder spree ahead of time, knowing that you're going to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, it definitely lacks.
It doesn't work that way.
I think it speaks more of the person's heart and where they're at, and where their relationship with God is. And that, now, I wouldn't say that particular person, I wouldn't say that this family member, I wouldn't say that they're unsaved necessarily, but they're definitely living their life in a way that displeases God, and they need to correct it.
But if there's no penalty for it, what if he's right? Well, he just all he has to do is ask for forgiveness, and you're blatantly defying him. You're not even trying to conform.
Well, and again, to say that there's no penalty, how do we know? How do we know that there's no penalty? Now, is there eternal consequences for his sins?
It's either eternal or none.
Right? Well, I mean, is he going to go to hell for it? No, because
that's the only punishment there is, Brady. There's no in between.
Well, I mean, I think God can still
you're not a Catholic. There is no
level of punishment to us now. No, you're right. I don't believe in a purgatory, but I think that, I mean, okay, take David for a moment. He had this from the Bible. King David has the affair with Bathsheba, and the child. He
sent her husband off to the front lines to die. That was pretty fucked up right off the bat.
Well, I mean, he's a stand-up guy. I mean, Uriah was a stand-up guy. David calls him in to basically come and have sex with. Yeah.
He's one of God's right-hand guys. Supposed to be righteous, and everything he did was just dastardly.
It was really bad. But yet, at the end of the day, he's still a man after God's own heart. Why? Because we all as humans make mistakes, and so therefore it's. One of those things I think you have to really look at, and as a Christian, it's one of those things I have to constantly be an examination of myself. How am I acting? How am I acting towards others? What's my relationship like with God? Am I doing those things that I should be doing? And there's days I do better than others. And
it's the intent, though. You have to.
Well, I think it matters. I do think not salvifically. Does intent matter? I don't know. It has nothing to do with intent there.
Salvifically. Is that a word?
Yeah, with salvation. To salvation. Yeah, related to salvation. So I don't think a good and what is the old saying? Good intentions are the path to hell, or something to that extent.